Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the second part of the activity, which is lion phylogeny. Okay, you've got instructions for the first part there. This is the second part. So I'm going to go back to my document that I already made because this is just at the bottom of the phylogeny part. Okay, so we're still working on that same essential question: how does geography influence genetics? Um, and now we're going to actually look at some actual DNA samples. All right. So we haven't talked a ton about DNA. You saw the strawberry DNA looked like a kind of a bunch of snot, right? So you know what a double helix looks like. You know what a chromosome kind of looks like. But what the heck is all this? Okay, so this is DNA samples from the populations, and we're going to learn a little bit about what they mean. Okay, so this one is actually, I think it's just the exact same thing that's on the paper, so I'll leave it there in case we need to look at it a little bit blown up, but it's right here anyway. Okay, so we're going to do a seething wonder again. All right, so go ahead and pause the video and just, what do you see here? Tell me what you see. What do you think it means? You know, it's DNA samples, but what the heck? What are all these letters? And this will be different depending on your background knowledge about DNA. And then what do you wonder? Which, again, you should have a lot of questions because we haven't really talked about this stuff. So you're going to take a look at that. So go ahead and pause and complete the See, Think, Wonder. Try on this one to get like maybe 2-3 bullets for each part. All right, pause. Okay, back. So what you are looking at is these are called this is the DNA sequence. So these are chemicals that are in let me actually do a little drawing. Okay. So it's kind of hard with a mouse. Bear with me. But the double helix is, you've probably seen, oh my goodness gracious. I should be doing this on my iPad with an Apple Pencil. Okay. This is DNA. So these blue lines that I'm drawing, they're like, if this were a ladder, they're called the rungs or the parts that you step on. But in DNA, they're called the bases, or sometimes called nitrogenous bases because they have nitrogen in them. Okay. And they're actually, I'll have an undo. They're not really one thing, they're actually two. So there's, oh, yellow is a bad choice. Hold on. There's 4 different bases in DNA, and we use letters to represent them. A's, T's, G's, and C's. So I'm just going to say that green is T. And T's always match with A's. Okay, so let's, we're going to draw T's on the other side. Sorry, this is so bad. Those are A's. And then there's also G's and C's. So let's do a couple just in the interest of time. Okay, those would be G's, and then, oops, hold on. G's. If you're curious, the A stands for adenine, the T stands for thymine, the G stands for guanine, and the C stands for cytosine. Okay, there. I don't want to clear my screen. I want to like erase this part, but I don't want to hit the eraser because if it erases the whole thing, I'll be cranky. So just look at the part where I did the basis out. Okay. So that's like, let's imagine this is a gene. They're way bigger than that, but let's imagine this is a gene. So the sequence here would be A, T, C, T, C, T, C, A, A. Okay. So that's when we say DNA sequence, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the order of the bases that determines how that organism makes a protein, and that protein might indicate how you look. So it might be like a pigment that colors your skin or your eyes or your hair. It might be your muscle tone or whether you can curl your tongue or not. Sorry about the noise in the background. So what you're looking at here is a sample from a lion in Cameroon, and you have a few that are altered in color because those are the ones that are different. So if you look at the first 7 bases in all of these DNA sequences, they're TTC, TCCA. and then there's like a T in some of them, a C in some of them, a T in some of them, a C in some of them, and then over here there's another difference. So the differences are highlighted, right? Or they're colored differently. I'm going to clear the screen now because it's pretty messy. But again, just a reminder, it has to do, this is what we're talking about here, the DNA sequence. Okay. So what you're going to do is just look at that data, talk about similarities and differences, and then answer questions 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. So I'll just read through the questions to make sure you understand. Based only on the DNA data, which populations do you think you live closer to each other? So think about it. If populations are close, they're maybe wandering between the two prides, maybe mating, maybe mixing up the genes a little bit. So you want to look at like similarities and differences and think, well, if they're real similar, do we think they live close or far? Speak to that and then use specific references to the data. So say, for example, the data for Zambia and Kalahari for this particular stretch of DNA, exactly the same. Okay. Find one that's different. Talk about that. So use specific evidence. Question 4, what do you expect to see when comparing DNA sequences of lions that live closer together? So this was, based on the pride data, which populations do you think live closer to each other? This says, what do you expect to see when comparing DNA sequences of lions that live closer together? So, wait a minute. Pride DNA data. Yeah, I'm sorry. If you had like within a pride, you had lions living real close, do you think their sequences are going to be different or similar? All right. Part 2, look at the pride DNA samples and the geographic data. So that's the map. That's the same one that we have here. And then there's the DNA. It's the same thing that's on your paper. Are lions that are geographically close to each other more closely related than lions that are far from each other? So now you're going to look at ones that live close. Sorry, it's a little loud out there. And look at their DNA. So maybe take like Fanny Roberts and, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Fanny Roberts and Phylogeny. And remember, those were kind of different on microsatellite, but check out their DNA. Or Fanny Roberts and Sabi Sands, check out their DNA. So you have that data here. Okay. Here's Fanny Roberts and Sabi Sands. Here's Fanny Roberts and Phylogeny. Compare it. How many differences are there? How many similarities? So again, cite specific evidence from the DNA and the geographic data to support your answer. So a complete answer would have some DNA to really back up that claim that you're making. Is the DNA similar or is it different? Number 2 says, when we were mapping lion populations, we had predicted Cameroon was the least related to the other prides based on their geography. Based on the DNA, do you still agree with this? Why or why not? So take a look at Cameroon up here, right? The top one. And when you look at DNA, what do you think? Similar? Different? Who knows? All right. Hope that helps. Let us know if you have any questions. Good luck, guys.